Hello ladies, give me just a second because I think this is a little bit too bright. Let me give it an extra dark. Hi Elaine, hi Adelaide, hi Jessica, hi Ramona, hi Sharon. I thought of remember how I said that in November I'm going to probably do, at least for the first part, some fall stuff. And I thought of creating a nice pendant with you that you can then, I mean, at least the face of it. Hi Karen, hi Gayleen. And then maybe next time we'll do the back as well. But at least I wanted to give you some ideas. Probably in the last, and that would be, let me see, like I'll do today and the next week I'll do fall stuff, and then starting the 21st I'll start doing holiday things, because we did a whole bunch of fall stuff. And remember that you can find on my channel all kinds of tutorials about fall things anyway. Now what you need for this tutorial, and I'll show you what you need, and I can tell you what you can substitute it with, okay? So something that you need is a baking tile, and remember that I always recommend these little mirror tiles. For me they are exceptionally easy, especially when I try to do pendants and earrings. Then you'll need some black clay. Then what you will need is either a veiner or a leaf, depending on your latitude. You might still have some leaves outside. Just make sure that it is one that's got, when you turn the leaf on the back, it has pretty prominent veins. And what I'm going to use here is actually a veiner. And just to give you an idea, and I am going to, as usual, post the link in the chat for the people who don't know it, but I'll show you how to find this kind of stuff on my Amazon influencer store, how they look like. And even if you don't buy from my Amazon influencer store, you can still get an idea what to look for. When it comes to my Amazon influencer store, don't forget that if you buy your Amazon things going to Amazon through my store, I do get a few cents commission, and it helps me with keeping up the costs for the website and the internet and supplies and all the other stuff. So, and by the way, I finished populating entirely the UK Amazon influencer store, so you can go from there. Now let's go to display and I will show you. So first of all, we will need the baking blanks, and the baking blanks, as you can see, it's here section. These little mirror tiles are there. I decided not to remove this one, which is one of my rectangular glass tiles, but yeah, it is $10, but it's more than one piece. I mean, there are 10 pieces in this, so it's not that bad of a deal. Then the other thing, I made a special section with, I hope I didn't get past them in the top, with stuff for making flowers, and that is with, there you go, flower making, veiners and other things. And let's see, for example, this is not what I'm using today, because these kind of keep changing, because again a lot of them are from China, and they change. I try to keep them up to date, but any of the leaf veiners, and a PolyClay has some too. If we go to the modes, they are a little bit smaller. Let me try and find it like this. Leaf. See, they are smaller that are leaf veiners. But she also has, or at least had, there you go, that's a larger one. No, I guess this is the one from PolyClay. So you can find it from PolyClay, the leaf petal. But anyway, if you don't have any of these, you can get the any leaf from outside if you still have leaves. That what I'm going to use again is the this mixed steampunk. You can find stuff like this in my Amazon influencer store as well, with all kinds of little crystals and metal and all that are, and you can find them, as I said, I've put them in the Amazon influencer store, because they are essentially, they are stuff that's for nail art. Hi Sonia, hi Sarah. So what I'm going to start with, let me bring back my little thing. First of all is my, oh yeah, and not to get to the end. Okay, then you'll need a leaf cutter that again you can do by hand. You don't really, if you don't have a leaf cutter, you can do by hand. And I'm going to use the color shift, and I'm going to use the orange flash and the emerald flash, but you can also use, if you have the Art Alchemy waxes, you can also use anything that's green, like the mint, I forgot the name of it, the mint gold one, and the rich copper or the amber, they would work just fine. So what I'm going to do first is to make sure that my clay is fairly flat, because no matter how many times you're going to get with it through the pasta machine and all that, it's going to be a little bit of a pain. And on black clay, always the folding lines are very, very noticeable. So what you want to do, and you can already see that the clay is not perfectly perfect. And if nobody told you yet, getting your clay through the pasta machine or even rolling it doesn't mean that your clay will be flat 100%. It will not. If you want your clay to be totally, completely flat, this is what you need to do. You need to burnish it. And to burnish it, you can use either one of these tiny acrylic blocks, or even your, and I'll show you with both. Just don't forget from time to time to lift the wax paper so that you release the clay, so it has enough room to, you know, expand. Because what you're trying to do here is mostly flatten, not necessarily roll. So with your roller, you do not roll. You come and you start rubbing. This is practically what you need to do, rub. Because when you're rolling, you're still rolling, how can I explain it? When you have the polymer clay surface and you have a little dip, when you come and you roll from here, what you do is you just practically push the dip a little bit farther. Hi Darla. No, but I'm working on the Amazon Canada store. I'm trying to get the influencer store, so I can use their one link, because if you have more than one influencer store in various countries, and you can unify them, Amazon allows you to do that now, so that you can post just one link, and whoever goes to that links goes to the Amazon of their country. So, but believe me, it's a lengthy process. I mean, it takes hours and hours of populating an influencer store like mine, because there are hundreds and hundreds of products that I have to research and make sure that I put there the best choice, you know. And mostly I'm looking for stuff that I either tried myself or I know that people have tried. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this, and I'm going to place my veiner flat on the table and then tippy tap it, because it's not a very flat veiner. Of course, the best thing is to get both of them, and I did something here. I guess I had something on the, but it's going to be just fine. And then place it on my mirror. Now, what I want to do is to go and very yeah, it always matters, Darla. It's wax paper usually has one waxed side and one flat side. You always want to put the wax side towards the clay. So one thing that I'm going to do is to try and enhance a little bit some of these veins, especially the one in the middle, and you can use all kinds of sculpting tools. Remember, I prefer these that are actually wax carvers, and you only want to go for the most prominent ones. You can leave the other ones as is, but you want at least your more important veins to be. And yeah, you want to do this pretty much before you cut, because after you cut it's going to be pulling and pushing and deforming some more. And then let's go ahead and cut it. So make sure that you kind of position the cutter, or if you cut it by hand, to have the main vein right in the middle. And if you want to clean it up a little bit, you can, but I advise you, because as you can see, especially if you have bad hands like mine, there's all kinds of nitty-gritty there. So before lifting the cutter, grab your X-Acto knife and simply clean the edges nicely. Now normally I wouldn't bother much by this, to do this, because it's very easy to simply do a few sandpaper swipes to get perfect edges before you go to the next step. But because of the way I'll be doing this, as we are going to be using resin. Hi Francis. Alright, so now I can lift my cutter, and there we go. Make sure that all your edges are there, and check if there's anything that's still dirty. Now, talking about the back, I wouldn't put anything on the back, myself personally, because it's going to be fairly thick. I'm going to apply resin on top. And it's going to be fairly thick no matter what, so I don't want to make it too bulky. So what I'm going to do after I bake it is just a sandpaper that, use some sandpaper on that shiny part on the back, and simply just put some metallic wax or something on it, or simply just Renaissance wax to make it a bit shiny. Alright, now our next step is to gently use some dry rubbed color shift, or remember the metallic waxes. Hi Adrian. Now remember one thing with the color shift, you need to be very careful that you stir them and you shake them really good, because if you don't, all the good stuff is going to be falling on the bottom. You're not late, Adrian. I started about 16 minutes ago, so I'm still in the first part. Alright, so I'm going to repeat, because I know that there's a lot of stuff that I keep saying and repeating over and over, but you have to think that there's always new people who just found my channel and who are not used to my techniques or the methods I've been using, so I need to explain them again. Dry rubbing is when you get some paint, some acrylic paint, and then you remove. I prefer to do this with my fingers, not with a paintbrush, because I have more control. You kind of wipe your finger on a paper towel until you almost feel it like dry. And why do I do this? Because if I do this, I only put a little bit of paint, and I prefer to just come back and reapply some on top of the one that I've already applied, and then to put too much and for my paint to go into all the crevices of the mold I just used. And you can see that I'm not applying this green all over the place. I apply it in spots, right? And I'm going to move this so you can see better, because being a color shift, of course, it can be seen better from different angles. Now, if you're going to ask me, can I do this with mica powder? Well, you can, but what you have to think is that you'll have to kind of press the mica powder in to make sure that once you apply the resin, it's not going to start moving around with the resin, you know. Okay, now let's grab that orange and do a dry rub with the orange. And I have to remind you again that I am not trying to flip you the bird. I'm using my middle finger because I have nerve damage to my index finger and I cannot feel very well. I don't have sensitivity in the tip of my index finger. This is why I always use my middle finger to do stuff. Not trying to flip you off. Okay. I wonder if I shouldn't get some red too. I might grab the red. Hey Gail, you made it. The orange gives me a little bit too much, more purple than I envisioned. Purplish blue. Give me just a second. Let me grab the red. Yeah, color shift paints. Color shift paints, I love them too. So this is the red flash. Yeah, this is better than the orange, so don't use the orange, it's too violet. Don't know, I did it with orangey stuff before and it didn't do this, so I don't know what's going on. See here, I have a little bit of too much. And I'm getting sometimes messages of people, hi Witch Willow, like, how do you use acrylic paints on your fingers like this? It's so hard once they are dry, it's so hard to take them off. Well, first of all, use alcohol first, and if not, one of the things that you should have on your bathroom sink at all times as a crafter is lava soap. Always lava soap. It takes out pretty much everything. You didn't miss a lot, Witch Willow. I have a rebellious hair strand that keeps floating around my nose. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit with some of the green in spots. And it's going to be quite a bit of iridescence. And as I said, if you want, you can use directly the Art Alchemy metallic waxes and the Opal Magic metallic waxes. Any of those would work just fine. And I'll go here in a second to show you which colors are good to use for this project, if you give me a minute, and I'll show it to you on PolyClay Play because they are more together. Alrighty, so the Fire Ruby, the Lucky Emerald, Red Amber, and then of the Metallic line, there's that Mint Sparkle, that's a gold green, that's beautiful, and the Rich Copper. Not all of them are that good, and from the Opal Magic is the green brocade and the silk, vintage silk. Those are the ones that work good. Okay, let's get back to this. Now my thing, it will be to first apply some resin, and you're going to, no, it's no pumice, I don't know what, it's got the substances that the soap is made. I don't know what type of lye they are using. And for the ones of you who haven't seen me doing this and are going to go, are you applying resin before baking? Yes, I'm applying resin before baking, because as I told you a long time ago, I realized that all the Chinese UV resins can be, at least all the ones that I've tried, can be baked without a problem. They don't yellow, they don't emit fumes or anything. They can be baked with a polymer clay at the polymer clay temperature baking setting. But what I discovered, because there's one thing that a lot of us, and I have explained before how to fix that problem, when you bake something, even if it's not very thin, when you apply resin afterwards, what happens is that it starts warping. It starts gathering like this because the resin has a lot of what's called a prehensile strength, because it has the tendency to dome itself, so it will pull on the ends the exact same way as like the PBO paints, for example. But I discovered that if I work on my pieces and apply the resin when the clay, the raw clay, is firmly stuck to my baking blank, in this case a mirror, I apply the resin, I cure the resin, and then I bake the piece. Everything is fine and then dandy, and all my pieces are nice and flat, even when they are made on very, very thin clay. As you can see, this thing is clay and resin, and you can see that it's perfectly flat. So let's go ahead and apply some resin. Just don't go crazy, because always when you apply the resin, once again, I've said it before, you don't want to put it too thick. And because if you try to add too much, better add some if you decide it's not enough. But always start in the center, because you don't want your resin to start pouring off of one edge or another, because then you have a lot of damage mitigation. And first pull the resin a little bit towards the edges, the major edges you have to reach. And that's when you'll figure out if you need more resin or not. In this case I might, but not a lot. You don't want to have too little resin either. So yeah, I do need just a little bit. Yeah, lava soap is great for gardening and farming and mechanical stuff, when you have to deal with grease and oil, engine oil, and all that good stuff. As a painting artist, I've always used lava soap or the European counterparts before I came to the US, because that's the only way you can get rid of all those, especially when you're doing oil painting. You can get that oil paint under your fingernails and in your cuticles, and it makes your hands look horrible. Alright. So I'm all nicely covered, and my resin is, let me make sure it is here, it's all the way to the edges. So what I'm going to do now is to start adding some inclusions. So let me grab a little tweezer. I do have other tweezers, but and if you want to do some steampunk and add some gears, you can do that. So I'm going to add some of these tiny, and by the way, I think I do have some micro beads for inclusions, because you can get micro beads in sets of different colors. A little. And you can use whatever. Oops, this is not exactly where I wanted it to be. Excuse me. Pardon me. You're supposed to be backwards. Alright. And let's plop a little crystal in the middle of that. As these are just little tiny crystals, they are not rhinestones or anything. And some of them are a little thicker, so they are going to stick out a little bit, and from this angle you won't be able to see them properly, but once the resin is all nice and cured, I'll be able to move them around. And of course you can place more other kinds of inclusions. Let me actually grab some little steampunk gears that we can add here too. Or you can add your regular rhinestones extra if you want. As I said, I'm not going to move it right now because I don't want the resin to start spilling, but after I get the resin nice and cured, I'll be able to move it around so you can see how it looks like. And the gears are so delicate. There are also stuff that you can find both in my influencer store and on Trish's store. Be careful when you place the gears to get them entirely submerged by the resin, as your Finnegan always steals my paper towels. You can always wipe the tweezers with a paper towel. Okay. And you can put all kinds of other inclusions if you have any. Let's see, how thick is this? This should be just fine. Now, if need be, you can come back and use a pinch more resin right on top if you have any kind of gear that doesn't want to stand still. You actually place another little droplet. Oops, look what I did. I dropped that, and now I have all my little my little beads sprinkled all over. What the heck this? I didn't wipe it properly. Still a little sticky. I'm chasing micro beads. Okay. Now that I started a little puddle of them here, let me add a few more. Okay, and I said I was going to use one more of these little droplets. And the good part about this, if you place rhinestones, you make sure that you have them flat on the clay, because otherwise it might create a problem, as the UV resin under it will not do a very good hardening. Alright, and add just a pinch more to make sure that this gear is properly covered. A pinch more even. Curly vines, yeah, that should work. You know, if you guys send me photos on Facebook, I can showcase your thing, which, if you don't have a lot of following and you're selling stuff, might help you. And I'm fully willing to help emerging artists. You know that. Okay, we are good. Let's go ahead and harden it up. Hi, Antonia. Well, it's fine. You can always watch it afterwards. Watch whatever you missed. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. One thing that I've been trying to get around to show you how to do is a little clock, and hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. But you'll need casting resin, which per ounce is a little bit cheaper than the UV resin, and yeah, you're gonna have to wait for 24 hours until it's fully set. But I think making your own clock is really neat. Then that's why, because I used to make clocks, not so much of resin. I think I only made one clock with resin before. I made clocks with polymer clay, and I made clocks with wood and wood burned stuff. So it's an interesting project, and I hope we can get around to do it, because you can buy the little clock mechanisms and everything. You just have to set the whole thing in a certain way and it will work just fine. Okay, still waiting for this to get properly cured. And if your surface on this thing is not perfectly even, you can go back, and that's why I said don't make it too thick, don't make the clay too thick. Go back and add another thin layer of resin, because as long as it's not super thick, it's going to be okay. So yeah, I think I need to add another layer of resin, but now you can see I'm gonna have to change the intensity. Give me just a second to find my remote. Okay, this is more. I'm trying to get it more towards daylight, so you can see better the. Hold on. Let me first refocus, and then I'll change the angle of the camera so you can see better. All right. And there you go. So you have a leaf with all kinds of nice things inside. And of course you can add other things, and one of the things that I always liked to add, and I'll show you how to make one really quick, and you can make it ahead of time, or you can make it pretty much right then and there, because it's not a big deal. You can make a nitty bitty mushroom, and all you need is a little bit of white, and as I said, you can make it ahead of time and just simply place it on the okay. So you get a piece of white and you flatten it to about 1.5 millimeters, 1/8 of an inch. Let me refocus again, sorry. There we go. Okay, and then grab, oops, you'll also need a little piece of red, and you can get a coral red, you can get a red, it's entirely up to you. So with the red, make a ball, cut it in about 1/3 and 2/3. Oops, flatten it a little bit. Cut one end of your white, and then go like this, flat, flat. So I need to have kind of like a screw shape, and then here start doing this, and this you'll do it directly on your baking blank, right? Then what you do here is this. You just want to give it some, they are called lamellae. So flatten this a little bit, and you might have to give it another little cut and flatten it against the red. You kind of have everything at the same, because once you add a few mushrooms like this on the leaf, and you can decorate the leaf in many other things. You can just resin it up and then who said that? Witch willow with curly vines. You can place some curly vines on top, because remember, this resin can be baked. So what I'm doing is to get tiny pieces of white. I didn't put on my eyeglasses again. And there you go. You have a little mushroom that you can put on your leaf, right? And it's going to look very nice. And if you want it to grow from the side, you simply cut it, you know, kind of like this. So you can put it coming from the side of the leaf. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. Let's actually give you an idea of how this would look, even if it's not covered by resin. If you don't want to go the steampunk way, but more organic way. Yeah. So yeah, you can make a whole bunch of these itty bitty mushrooms and use them on various decorations. And you can do this on I'm trying to make, I'm waiting, I ordered, because I realized I was out of blanks for salt and pepper shakers, because I was planning to put out a tutorial with that also involves mushrooms for Thanksgiving, you know, a fall theme shaker. But anyway, this is the thing, and you can see the little crystals are actually very, oops, trying to grab the whole, it does look, and it's hard to see the best of this in this light, because remember, my light is to be able to catch how to make stuff, not how to show stuff. A lot of times I have to go in the kitchen and set my phone in a certain angle from the window with daylight to get the best look. Okay, so I hope you liked it, and hopefully this coming week, I'm almost done with the for labradorite effect, so I'm not going to promise, but should be real soon coming out. Oops. Because I do feel completely recovered from the booster shot, and we'll see how things are. So I hope you have a great week. I think we have, what do we have? There's a federal holiday coming up. What federal holiday is coming? Hold on. Federal holidays. Yeah, Veterans Day. That will be Thursday. So I don't know, if you want to do something for the Veterans Day, remember that I have yeah, exactly, at certain times. Remember that I have I did the Remembrance Puppy live, showing you how to make a Remembrance Puppy that works for Veterans Day, for Memorial Day, for all kinds of things like this. Let me see. Yeah, this is it. and it is, give me just a second, I shall show you it. And it was done like 3 years ago, but it's a relatively good quality. And I showed how to make all of these little things. And you can see in the very beginning, I'm not, okay, there you go. I'm showing how to arrange the petals to get it properly set for baking. So if you want to do something for Veterans Day, and I have several flag tutorials as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll try to do one for yourself, because it's not very hard to make. You just need the stuff. It's one of the times that I show you stuff that it's not hard to make, but you need the stuff. Because usually I'm trying to find and show tutorials that you don't have to buy a lot of things for them. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful week and a good celebration of Veterans Day if you have any veterans in your family. And I shall see you next Sunday. We'll do something else. This time it will be for Thanksgiving, I promise. Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful what's left of the weekend. Bye.